No, or you don't bring that in.
This is a new thing.
Oh. You have to point it at that or what?
No,
Doesn't-
just a selfie.
You good? You can record that too?
No, just that.
Just that. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock. We'll start out with the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start out with roll call. And we'll go around the room. Trustee Hutchell,
Present.
trustee Cole. Here. Trustee Monzel.
Here.
Attorney Schober, myself, Jeff Goodman here. And of course our clerk Kathy. And Larry Long. Josh Grover here. And Tracy Lewandowski.
Present.
Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see everybody. We have some dignitaries from Waukesha. Thank you for coming. Public comments. If you have any comments to make, please put a sheet up there to sign in on.
I don't, but I can't, is it? No.
I can give you some paper if you want. So please put down your name and hold it to approximately 2-3 minutes. But feel free to make any public comments you want to make. And I believe we need your address too.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Mike Gorecki. My address is S39W22244 Tin Drive, Waukesha. I serve the village of Waukesha as trustee number 3. I was elected with the support of trustee Tom Kalinsky, who's here tonight, who removed my opponent's campaign sign from his yard and replaced it with mine after I was able to introduce myself. I have come to learn more about who Tom Kalinsky is as we have served together. Tom is now seeking to be appointed as the judge overseeing our communities. I believe that this is the wrong choice for several reasons. On April 1st, 2022, I sent an email to Village Clerk Snyder directing her to add 2 items to the village board agenda for the board meeting on April 14th of the same year. Clerk Snyder refused to add my agenda items for the meeting. That was a direct violation of then current Village Ordinance 254B1 and 2. It came to light that she did this at the direction of the village president. What was Tom Kalinsky's solution? He did not move to investigate my claims, even though the facts are undeniable. Instead, he introduced an ordinance change that would give sole authority over board agendas to the village clerk, an employee appointed by the village president. On March 23rd, 2023, the village board reviewed 3 requests for ambulance transport bill forgiveness. At that time, the village ordinances did not have a specific expense for EMTs when no services were rendered. The board vote was split on forgiving the modest charges. What was Tom Kalinsky's solution? He moved to table the requests. At the next board meeting on April 27th, the fee schedule was amended. The forgiveness requests were then taken up by the board, and Tom was able to vote to forgive them. Tom suppressed a decision that the ordinance did not support, moved to change the ordinance, and then took up the decision and voted according to the revised ordinance. Judicial activism before he was even a judge. Trustees Kalinsky attendance at village board meetings has been hit or miss. He has the worst attendance record of any current trustee. I have serious doubts about whether he'll be able to meet the needs of the public in a new role when he has struggled to do so in his current role. There is no urgency to fill the role of joint municipal judge, since a reserve judge must be assigned to oversee the court if a judge hasn't been appointed. While the matter at hand is only the appointment of a municipal court judge, this is still a serious matter. Our country has become increasingly polarized because of a politicized court and administrative agencies. I believe very strongly enough to come here tonight, that all are equal under the law. As such, it's important to appoint judges who hold the same belief. I would ask the board to deny Trustee Kalinsky's appointment and seek a candidate who is more objective and consistent in his administration of the laws and ordinances of our communities. I feel that any appointee ought to fulfill his current duties before assuming additional responsibilities. By insisting that our local officials adhere to the law, we can work to minimize the needless division we're witnessing in the rest of our republic and be an example. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Bob Stigler, Village President of the Village of Waukesha. Our board, outside of Trustee Gurecki, supports Tom Kalinsky 100%. He has demonstrated interest in our village. He's demonstrated caring for the people. I'm just kind of dumbfounded by the past comments and things. I don't think our board reflects on those at all. So I want to stand here in support of Tom Kalinsky. So thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments? Okay, we will move on to the fire department's monthly report.
So we had 11 calls for the month. On June 10th, we attended the Touch a Truck event at Christ Lutheran School. We had a great time talking with several parents and showing children the ambulance and engine. We are continuing preparations for this year's Rumble. Staff is set to cover the village at the weekend event. At the request of Celebrations Committee, we will be staffing a first aid tent on site both days of the event as well. Our new cotton power lift is targeted to arrive on July 20th. Our new computer system for the ambulances will be installed in the next few weeks. Hose testing for the engines and tender is scheduled for July 19th. And at the request of the police department, we are assisting with the car show at National Night Out. Any other questions?
Thank you, John.
Right.
Anybody have anything?
Yeah, as far as the coverage for the Rumble, what kind of staffing do you anticipate being provided?
16 people per day.
Okay.
We'll be covering the Rumble and covering the village.
Okay, and at the public safety meeting, you talked a little bit about the support from, well, you're busy here at the Rumble for anything else that's going on here.
Yeah, for any fire calls, and ambulance will be okay unless we need an intercept, but any fire calls or accidents, we're gonna ask Vernon to also respond.
And when are you gonna do that?
When are we gonna do that? In the next week, huh?
Okay, don't you have to give them a heads up so they have people?
Usually.
I think that would be the prettiest thing to do.
Yeah, we're gonna contact them this week now, so.
All right, excellent, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Okay, we'll move on to the library. Carla?
Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome from Waukesha Village. Our library serves some of your residents, so it's nice to meet you. This summer has been the busiest summer we've ever had, and we're enjoying it. Struggling a little bit to keep up with all the people that are coming in. We probably probably have about 20% more foot traffic. Normally, we might have 1,200 people come here a month. We had 1,700 people. And the reading program is doing awesome. We have 86 kids. Last year, we had 74 at the end of summer, so we're only halfway through. We had our first large program called our summer kickoff. We had 83 people stop by, and it really helped that. Thank you, fire department. They sent people over here to the village, and we were trying to encourage people to go over there too. We had an interactive drum circle, which I wasn't even sure what that was. It's a program provided for us, and it was the band director from Arrowhead High School, Ryan Niesel, and he does this on his own, and he brought instruments here. He was able to control a group of about 15 people from toddlers to seniors, keep it fun and interactive, and have them all try different instruments. So I had to give that guy a hand. He might come back here in November and do a program for adults. We received a $100 check from Citizens Bank as a donation for our summer program and are very happy and grateful to them for that. We had received a $1,000 check earlier from the Big Bend Vernon Lions Club. That was towards our digital sign. And we will be receiving a total of $3,760 in grants. Most of that money has been spent and is allocated for library improvements. And hopefully we'll be seeing a picnic table soon once it's made, I guess. Also, one of our staff announced her retirement this week, and she's one of our longest, best working staff members. It's going to be very hard to replace her. And another staff member asked for 6 weeks medical leave. So I'll be posting a new job position, possibly 2. So if anyone knows of a person that would like to work in the library, send them my way. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Carol.
Thank you,
Carol.
Carol.
Okay, and then we'll move on to the police department. The chief, did he come back?
Yeah, back. Good evening, reports are in front of you. One theft, fraud ID, 1 criminal damage, 76 traffic stops, 68 citation, 1 non-traffic citation for fraud out of the gas station attendant, 308 calls for service, 63 business checks, house checks, extra patrols, 3 accident, and 5 responses with the fire department. Narratives on the second page there, on the back, I believe it's on your guys' sheet. Salvage inspections for the month is 46. I think that's the most we've had since we restarted the program. 187 total for 2023. Revenue generated out of that is the next line down. 9 hours and 2 minutes to assist other agencies. Our national night out will be August 10th from 5 until 8 p.m. We're going to do a car show again this year. Fire department has graciously volunteered to take over the car show portion of it to help us out. We participated in Touch a Truck, that was at Christ Lutheran. And our crossing guard for Big Bend Elementary is not going to be our crossing guard anymore. She's retiring completely. Well, her job to travel and spend time with her family, so if you know anybody wants to be a crossing guard, 8 to 8:30 in the morning, 3:15 to 3:45 in the afternoon. You split it up among 2 people, 2 retired people. Couple extra bucks in your pocket if you're a retired guy or gal. So,
We know where you're going.
I think retired guys are around here, and gals.
That's why it's retired.
Most of you are up by 8 o'clock in the morning at 7.
Depends on the dog.
Rumble, we're pretty well set. We got 12 officers each night, including the road officers. Reach out to the state patrol. We're gonna do some focus patrol down there as they can. We reach out to the Waukesha Sheriff's Department so they're aware of the events and 3 of the parking areas are actually in Vernon. Touch base with Village of Waukesha, Village of Vernon's clerk today. They're gonna look at, see if they get their contract guy to work the 2 nights of Rumble and switch the schedule around, which will give another body in the area. I'm not sure if that'll happen, that's obviously in the works. We reach out to State Patrol, their mobile intoxilizer is gonna be delivered on the 10th, next Monday, so we have an intoxilizer right here at the station, so if we have any drunk drivers or alcohol-related offenses where we need an intoxilizer, we don't have to go down to Waterford, go and take them for blood. So we can do it right here at the station and do all the processing right here. speed things up a little bit, keep more guys and gals in the area. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
President's report, no, actually it says National Night Out, but we have it on the agenda later on. We're gonna talk about that a little bit, so we'll wait on that. Public Works, here.
Good evening. One thing that's changed is the number of monument stakings. We had 6 for the month, we actually had 9. 3 more came in during the time. We did some pothole patching. I attended the FEMA damage assessment. Myself and Clerk Kelly Kellner went there, and also Trustee Cole. If one of you or all of you ever get the chance to do this, I think it's an eye-opening experience, because we are not only behind, we are way behind.
Way behind.
Stuff that we need to take care of. The genset is here. We have a gas shut off right now. I talked to the plumber today. We have the equalized thing because we boosted the pressure. Hopefully that's gonna get taken today or tomorrow or Monday. So that'll get them running. I organized the informational meeting with the new engineer, the new planner. I think it went very well. And engineers, Pine and Rock there. I think that went good. We also had the building inspector there. We were prepping ball fields. We put the wheat boom in at John's. We've done all the Wistop property and everything else. Kanawha County Works Association. Kathy, I asked you to put a reminder on the website and on Facebook that the dumpster for July is the 22nd, not the 15th, or it's 14th. 15th, I should say. It's not the 15th, it's the 22nd. We bought a flail mower last year from the county. We refurbished it, and it was all cut and worked really well. Our e-waste has gone sky high as far as people bringing stuff in. It's been very, very good. We're taking quite a bit of stuff there. The DNR just revised the stuff we can take. John's will take it. When I talked to them last week, we had electrical short on our skid loader. We took care of that. We had a very large funeral at the cemetery for Mark King's father. Had road borings completed on Big Bend Drive. And I think finance saw the bill that was quoted for that, to do that job.
I don't think we have that, did we?
And
I see the email on it.
sent it to you in an email, yeah. So we need to get that part of it figured out, what we're gonna do there. We've been working with the fire department, the police department. Police need the streets, they're gonna have one, or parking on one side only. We went through this, myself, Jamie, and Don. Took down some trees near the pavilion. We also took some more big trees down by the entrance to the park. Any questions?
Eric, what's the status on recycling now? I mean, is the Milwaukee facility, is there any estimate when it's gonna be back online?
I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if John's had said anything.
So John, what's happening now is John's is processing all the stuff they collect. And they're doing that at both of their facilities, but there's only finite space available, from what I understand. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens as they get further along.
There's going to be any type of service interruption or any additional things, just.
Hopefully so.
I think so. Just go ahead and ask.
Eric, has the side of the electrical breaker box ever completed? Oh,
Yeah, we're on new power now.
okay.
We're on new power now. We just, the gen set out there, because it's running on natural gas, it has to have 7 inches per column weight of water, or however they measure that. And when we put it in there, we knew we were gonna have a problem. We put a bigger pipe in and stuff, but that engine chews 1 million BTUs an hour of natural gas, so it takes a lot. So we have to boost the pressure, and when we boosted the pressure, I can't run these furnaces or anything in the garage right now because the pressure's too much. I'll knock out the gauges, so we have to put diverters in, and I'm waiting for the plumber to get that done. And then we're home free, hopefully.
That was that 400 amp issue, is that?
Yeah, we're all done. I'll take care of it.
Eric spent a heck of a lot of time, I got a pat him on the back because I was watching it happen. He spent a lot of time to straighten that mess out and to find the solution that avoided it becoming a bigger controversy, so,
Way too long.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, one more thing, if you don't mind. You know, you being a big part of celebrations of the Rumble, how we doing? I know we're right down to the wire. Are we set to go?
We'll find out on Friday. won't we?
Almost set. Almost set to go?
There's some big stumbling blocks right now with some organizations. So I got a lot of stuff to work out tonight yet.
Anything the board can help you with?
Everybody volunteer, how's that?
Sounds good to me, I'm there.
You know, and for those of you that have signed up, very appreciate it. But you know, we need some volunteers. Got a couple different things coming in this year. We got what's called mini rods. These are larger, not farm tractors, but a little bit smaller. Big engines. I call them guys warm blood donors because these things really rip and they go on the track and they're squirrely. We may entertain a semi-pole on Saturday night, just there's some other circuits right now that there's a scheduling conflict with. So I'll be on the phone all night tonight trying to make sure that we can at least get what we can get here, so.
Well, we appreciate it because that's a great event.
Is it an issue for both Friday and Saturday, or just one of the nights?
Both nights. The guys are trying to come from Baraboo down here, so they're trying to pull in Baraboo early, load them up in the trailers and come all the way down here for Saturday night.
So they're getting done early.
So it may not work out the way we want, but it is what it is. Do it the best we can.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, professional services?
Nothing here.
Nothing? Okay, so we'll move on to consideration and approval of minutes for June 1st, 2023. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to dispense the reading of the minutes for the June 1st village board meeting.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented for June 1st, 2023.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain from the vote as I was on here.
I will abstain as well, as I was not here either.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll welcome Naomi Roush, our engineer.
Good evening, thank you for having me. Just a quick introduction, I think there's some new faces on the board since the last time I was here. I'm Naomi Roush, I work at Horn Associates, I'm one of your village engineers along with Will Hine from ETI. My role currently is I do a lot of site plan reviews, or all the site plan reviews, attend the plan commission meetings, work with enforcement for site plan and zoning, and work with the new planner at both on the floodplain ordinance revisions that are on the agenda today too. So just a quick introduction, I've probably been with the village a couple of years now, and before that we had a different engineer for about a year, so I think we're 3 or 4 years in with the Village of Big Bend. I was asked to speak at the Public Works Committee about a month ago and kind of give a background on the condition of our roads and how we do road ratings, what we see from the road ratings, how we determine the improvements needed, and how we should go about doing some capital improvement planning in order to make sure funding is available when we need it. So I have this packet, I handed it out in advance. It's nothing pretty, but I think it has a lot of good information in it. The first page here is how we do our rating system. So there's a systematic way to rate the condition of the pavement of the roads. It's called the PASER rating. The PASER rating is recorded every year with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, and it's mapped, and it's recorded year after year. So typically you'd see the road rating go down. As you see at the top of the road rating, 10, excellent condition, brand new road. As you go to the bottom, you start to see 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. These are all roads that need structural improvements. So you might look at a road with a pavement rating of a 6 and say, okay, well, we can maybe extend the life and seal coat it. Maybe a cheap fix, you know, lipstick on the pig, right? And then the next one, as you go further down, it gets more expensive. The worse the roads get, the more expensive the treatment. So this helps us gauge for future planning. And typically communities have a 5-year road plan, what roads they're gonna do in which year to meet their budget for that. You're probably looking at budget for 2024, or will be starting to discuss it here in July. So the next, there's some spreadsheets on the next page that shows each road. And this is available on DOT. It's Derek enters in the road ratings. And I organize these so that the worst road ratings are at the top. So a one needs work now, is the worst rating you can get. So we do have some ones within the village, approximately 4,500 linear feet. We have several 2s in the village. And then we get down into our road ratings of 3 and 4. So a road rating of a 1, we would recommend a total reconstruct. That's everything. Remove everything, replace it. When you get down to the 4-inch, 3 and 4, recommended treatment about a 4-inch pulverized and overlay. That's similar to what was done on Sherry Avenue last year was the road project. So in our capital improvement planning, we typically make a spreadsheet like this. We take past projects throughout all of our communities in southeast Wisconsin, and we find an average square yard price to complete, say, a reconstruct would be $155 per square yard of improvements. Down to pulverized, 4-inch pulverized and overlay, I estimated 33 per square yard, and a mill and overlay, so if you have a PASER rating of 5, mill and overlay would be about $27 per square yard. So we can estimate, and we want to estimate high for capital improvement planning, because you want to have enough to complete the project, but not too high where you're allocating money where it's not going to be spent, right? So there's a balance there. When you look at an average, all of these PASER ratings are roads at about 5.7. So if you go back to the first page, you can see 5 is fair. We're at about a 5.7 for an average road rating within the village. So then I'd like you to turn to the pie chart. This is the road ratings, kind of, so you can compare to the whole. At the 12 o'clock mark, at the top of the pie, the blue off to the right, that's your 1s. Okay, and this is by linear foot. So you have about 6% of your roads are 1s. If you add the 2s, you got a 6 and a 4, so you have about 10%. So as you read around, you know, the 5s, 6s, 6 is about at the 30 mark at the bottom of the pie chart. You can see more than half of the roads are 6 or below. You have some 7/8, you have a very slim 9 and 10, which is the good, or excellent. So what does that mean? We see $155 a square yard to fix a total reconstruct. So the next page, I kind of put together some summary of costs. So if we were looking at improving just the ones and the twos, the roads that are structurally impaired, that's about a $2,630,000 repair for the ones and twos. If we did the 3s and 4s, which are pulverized and overlay, that's another $1.2 million. And if we were gonna go as far into a mill and overlay on all our rating 5s, it's $643,000, according to our estimates. That's, so we're adding up here, right? We're quite a bit of money. And if we took that, it's over $4 million. And if we said, okay, we're gonna take care of these roads within the next 10 years, say that everything stays the same, road ratings stay the same, which they won't, they'll go down. What is now pulverized will be a total reconstruct. What is now mill and overlay will be a pulverized, so they get more expensive. And if we did that in 10 years, assuming the cost of construction stays the same, which it won't, it's probably double in 10 years, that's $447,000 a year. That's a lot of money. So the village gets money. How do we pay for that? The village gets some money from general transportation aid. That's this next handout, which I pulled from the internet, and I was able to get some information for the village as a whole. But general transportation aid is supposed to be a supplement to local funds in road maintenance. The first bullet point gives a summary of how they determine funding, and you can receive funding based on your rate per mile, so how many roads you have. But it's also based on the amount of the village's own resources it has spent on the mileage over an average of 6 years. So one thing that really got me thinking about this is I had looked at this year's general transportation aid fund for the village, and it went down from last year. And that you can see on this next page. It has a table, and then it has a line graph. In the past, since 2019 to 2020, we see a rise in the amount of general transportation aid, and since then, it's gone down. That is almost unheard of. The most it can go down, based on the GTA website, is 10% a year, and from 2022 to 2023, yours went down 10%. They're basing this on a cost history that's shown in the chart. So in 2016, the village estimated it spent $427,545 on eligible expenses for the general transportation aid. That doesn't mean all of that went to your roads. That doesn't mean all of that went to mill and overlay, went to pulverizing. In fact, what is your budget, Eric?
$12,000.
$12,000 for road repairs. So there's quite a difference in what we have budgeted and what we see future needs will be, current and future needs will be within the village, just to maintain the roads, fix the roads. So I think it's good information to think about as you talk about budgets and how these things are going to get addressed in planning, capital improvement planning. We help somewhat with that at Kapur. We help put together schedules, cost estimates to kind of set up the program and how you want to get some of these roads completed. Any questions on any of this information?
I think it's very good. We appreciate you bringing it in and something to for us to take a look at as we start doing our budgets, to see what we can and can't do.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Very informative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Hines, well done from
Mr. Hines at home, he's retired. My name is Will. Y'all were given a package, looks like this. I have extras. I'm not gonna spend money like they only just did. We're gonna talk about a couple things. First thing I wanna talk to you guys about is the culverts underneath Big Bend Road. Big Bend Road, 300 feet south of Skyline, Millbrook crosses Big Bend Road. There's a series of 3 36-inch corrugated metal pipes underneath that road right now. This picture that you see on the cover really doesn't do it justice. If you look at the following page, there's a better color picture of that photo. And realistically, this doesn't even tell the whole tale. These culverts have no bottom in there anymore. The bottom is corroded out to the point where these things act like springs whenever heavy trucks go over these things. You can stand on the edge of the road and you can feel the road shake. We have a sneaking suspicion that there's probably some timbers underneath there because that was old Highway F. That was the only way to get into Waukesha back in the 60s until they built 164. Eric and I have been looking at this project, I think, since 2014. We first got it permitted in 15, and we've renewed it every other year since then. I think the current permit, which is shown on the bottom of the second page from the DNR, I think that expires in 25. I think it was a 5-year approval, or a 3-year approval, I forget. So we have the permits in place to replace these culverts. A couple things about the Millbrook. The DNR has classified the Millbrook as a Class 1 trout stream. As silly as that sounds to me, that's how they have it classified. I don't know that I've ever seen a fish in that creek. That being said, obviously we have to get DNR and Corps of Engineers permits in order to do this work. The other thing, if we move to the third page, which has the Corps of Engineer permit on the top, I already mentioned that the bottoms of the culverts are gone. It's a Class 1 trout stream. The area on the east side of Big Bend Drive, which is where the headwaters are, over near Guthrie actually, Millbrook goes all the way over to Guthrie, so it picks up portions of New Berlin and drains it all the way west into the Fox River. We need to bypass that flow. We need to continue that flow for a couple different reasons. From a flooding perspective and also from an organism perspective. Any fish that get up need to be able to get down. So this is one of those projects that really needs to be done during dry weather conditions. Boy, if you've got weather going on right now that would help you out. I mean, how far are we below normal? 2-3 inches in terms of precip? Perfect time to do it. I know that Eric has solicited a bid, Ross's grading, and that, I'd like to say it was a 15,000, 14? 14,000 and some change. But that includes using DPW staff to help on some of that stuff. In my opinion, and I'm just the engineer, I'm obviously not a board member, this is ultimately your decision to make. In my opinion, these culverts are critical infrastructure unless we're going to close that road. It's basically the main thoroughfare. DeLuca's just north of there, their driveway's just north of there. They get their fuel at Quick Trip, their yard's down on National. If we force them out onto 164 or to the north town line over to Guthrie, I think it would be an inconvenience for everyone involved there. In my opinion, $14,000 is a small price to pay to get that road with the stuff. Any questions on that before we move to the next station?
Didn't we approve some money for that?
Then we've got about 30,000 that we can do it with. So we're about, well, I spent $3,500 on the borings and with this, and, you know, it's just, we're gonna assist in this thing. We gotta do bypass pumping which means we actually have to dam off that old creek and pump the water around it. So for just a contractor to be there to do the digging and stuff, it's that amount of money. We're gonna be 35, 40,000 by the time we're done. But this is something that I don't think we can approve the permit anymore, or delay it, right? This is the last time.
Oh, this is the last time we get it.
Yeah,
This is actually a permit that the DNR issues through their transportation program because it's a local road. He's been very patient, Craig Webster has been very patient with us because we keep getting extended, When we extended it back in '21, we were told this is the last shot. If you guys don't do it this time, you're gonna be reapplying and stuff.
So we have 35,000 set aside for this,
30 or 35.
so we can pretty much move forward with it. Correct?
Right.
It's been approved.
We're just bringing you up to speed on what's gonna happen. Because these
And I
are,
know I've been out there with you.
right, right.
And, yeah, it definitely needs to get done, there's no doubt about that. So, I guess let's just get it done.
Okay.
Is it just at one location?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Multiple culverts?
There's 3 culverts, there's 3 36s there. We're gonna replace the 3 36s with 2 36 and a 42. One of the requirements from the DNR was to place the 42 in the main stream channel to allow the organisms to pass from east to west or west to east. Like I say, the bottom of those culverts is gone, so I'm sure there's some erosion down there and that thing will just slide right into that channel right now.
And you say the borings are done now?
Yep, we got the borings back.
Everything's okay with Ross there? I know that was a big question there.
Yeah, I mean, I had sent finance his quote, with the understanding that we're gonna be there assisting. And we were gonna do this ourselves, I just don't have qualified personnel to
You
do this
don't
right now.
have the time and personnel,
Right.
or you got other stuff also,
Yeah.
yeah. And you can do that, assist with,
Yep. I'm gonna see if I can, talk to Brett from the Village of Vernon and see if we can grab a truck from him. Cause the trucking costs otherwise are $1.20 an hour for a quad, so. This is something I don't wanna see go into the fall. I mean, I'd like to see this get hammered out by August sometime.
yeah, like I say, I think it's been approved.
And with the environmental conditions, probably prime time to do it.
Oh, it's a prime time to do it. Your coffer dam on the east side of the road is gonna be significantly lower than if it were June or, May, on a normal May when we actually get rain.
So I don't think there's anything that we're holding you up on, correct?
We're just here giving you all the ins and outs and ups and downs.
Okay.
Yeah, and as with Naomi, I was asked by Public Works to attend this meeting and apprise the board of what's going on.
Yeah, we appreciate that, so, yeah, we've already said yes to this and set aside the money, so let's just move forward and get it done.
Okay. There was another aspect that I was asked to speak on tonight, and that was best management practice maintenance. Back in 2006, the DNR issued what's called the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Permit to the Village of Big Bend, MS4, you've probably heard the term. We have to do a report annually, at the end of March, I think it is, relative to the actions that the village has taken under their MS4 permit. The Village of Big Bend was one of the first communities in this area that was permitted. I'm not sure how that happened, but I'm not sure how you guys got that lucky. But January 2006, as part of the permit, the village became responsible for the implementation of policies directed toward water quality, discharge from construction sites and into the navigable waterways of the state of Wisconsin. And at that time, or shortly thereafter, the village reworked their ordinances. They're now Chapter 13. The post-construction stormwater ordinance is contained in Chapter 13. Once upon a time, I think it was in 3 or 4 places. I remember meeting with Ryan Hartsook many years ago, and he said, you guys need to get it all in one place. But the village has an obligation based upon this permit and your own ordinance and your own approvals. There's been 10 developments since 2005 in the village of Big Bend, 8 of which have structural BMPs on. BMPs is best management practice, be it a wet detention basin, infiltration basin. Jeff, your subdivision has one of each. You have a wet detention basin to the west of you, you have an infiltration basin to the north of you. Your obligation is to ensure that the responsible party, in many instances, these are the homeowners associations that may or not have been created during the planning process. I think the first thing that needs to happen is these people need to be apprised that these things need to be inspected. It may be as simple as just doing an inspection to see if it's still functioning the way that it was always intended to be. Windwalker, I think, went in 2007, if I'm not mistaken, your subdivision. I should remember that, but.
It may have, I don't think anything was developed.
No, there was no homes in there until 9 or 10. Actually, it may have even been after that. I think the first one in there was
2010.
was,
Yeah,
I can't
that's
think of
right.
Tim's last name, Lot 3.
Newman, yeah.
Newman, there you go. But I think the village needs to start looking at this. You have 8 developments. We need to reach out to these property owners and at least apprise them that they have an obligation to maintain their facilities. 2005, I'd like to say Scenic Ridge was one that went in. That's the one that's immediately west of the old Strickler farm. There's 4 wet detention basins in there. I'm not sure they're much more than a series of cattails right now because I haven't been by there. But these things need to be looked at. They need to, the DNR has not started cracking down on the communities at this point in time, but it is a question of the annual permit now. When you have to fill out your annual report, they ask what you've done with privately held stormwater facilities. And we've done nothing at this point. Some of this stuff is 18 years old. I think it's time we come up with a plan to start looking at this stuff. I'm not saying it has to all be done tonight, or tomorrow, or next year, but we need to have a plan. Maybe it's one development a year every for 10 years, and then we're done. Then you don't have to do it again for another 10 years. It's just one of those things I think the village needs to be cognizant of moving forward. I don't know that you need to do a whole lot of budgeting at this point in time. This is not a village responsibility. Your responsibility is to inform the responsible parties. The maintenance agreements that are either contained within the subdivision plat or in the standalone agreements give the village the right but not responsibility to perform that inspection and back charge the responsible party. So you do have a mechanism to get the work done if you run into a roadblock. Having worked with communities, I know that's not looked upon very favorably. Nobody wants to force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. But as a last resort, if we're going to sit in a room with the DNR and get beat down because we didn't do our job, I think I know which direction I'm leaning on that one. So,
Is this something you do, Will?
we can do it. We've actually worked with Eric. We came up with a draft letter, and we picked the smallest development. This is Dreamcatcher. Dreamcatcher Court, just north of Quick Trip, east side of 164, just north of National. There's a wet detention basin on the north side of that cul-de-sac. There's only, I think, 3 owners out there, so that's a very easy letter to write. You just address it to 3 people, send them, and hope like heck you hit your mark. Fortunately or unfortunately, the state doesn't have a real good reporting program on homeowners associations, so trying to get that information is next to impossible, even if it still exists. I mean, Tony, you may still have one in Lake Park, but Lake Park, for example, has 4 underground detention basins. They have 7-foot diameter, corrugated metal pipe that are like 40, 50 feet long, and they're supposed to hold water. Somebody needs to look at them. Is it a big deal? No. Eric and I can probably do it in a morning, but it's not our responsibility. It's supposed to be the homeowner's responsibility. It's not the village's responsibility. So, yeah, Eric and I have already come up with a mailing list, and we've already come up with a letter. It doesn't take much to throw some postage on it and send it out with a village letterhead.
but I think it's something that has to be done,
We should start it, that's for sure.
especially where we were with the,
The key is to get it started,
Would be,
so that you're showing you're doing something instead
Well,
of disregarding it or not paying.
Yeah, I think good faith, I mean, take Ripplebrook West. There really isn't any structural stormwater facilities down there. There's a short section of storm sewer that comes in off the cul-de-sac of Manhole and a short section of storm sewer that goes south. Somebody needs to peek inside, pull the rim, go downstream, make sure there's not deposition of sediment. Very simple thing. One of the last pages on here, the Waukesha County has, I'm not gonna find it now, yeah, bottom of the last page. Waukesha County has inspection forms for just about everything that could be easily manipulated onto village letterhead. So when you send this out, you give them direction on what they need to do in order to meet the intent of their maintenance agreements. But as I indicated, there are 10 developments. All either have a plat note or a recorded standalone stormwater maintenance agreement that we have the legal right as the village to ask them to look at their own infrastructure.
Okay, why don't you or Eric put together a list of all the different ones that need to be inspected? And then we can take a look at it and approve what we need to do as far as,
They're actually all shown on the maps, and I'll leave that, because this is a larger map. I wouldn't want to try and read this. I mean, my eyes aren't any good to begin with, but I'll just mind if
just
I
give
try and
us
look at
some
this.
kind of indication of.
I also have a table, which I can forward to Kathy, and she can forward it to the board,
Okay.
because it indicates what we identify as things that need to be inspected.
we've already got the list. We're just trying to stay ahead of where we were a couple of years ago with the landfill site up on National.
You had to bring that up, didn't you?
Well, it's just that, you know, I don't want that to come around again, and I don't want to have a hand-holding session with representatives from the state.
Wouldn't it be beneficial to us to have Will and Eric and whoever else needs to be involved develop some type of village policy? So that we're just not throwing darts in the wind here? So that we have, again, when the DNR wants to talk to us about this, we can say, here's our policy that we're following, and.
I think the policies are in pretty good shape in
Are they?
chapter 13 right now.
Okay, so chapter 13 defines what we need to be doing?
Well, I'm not sure that the inspection and maintenance is spelled out that much,
Okay.
but it gives the village the authority to request these things to be done. And the fact that there are standalone and recorded restrictions, either on plat CSM or within a separate agreement, be more than happy to share any or all of them with you, because I think I have every one of them right now.
So I'll just,
Except for Ripple
kind of,
East.
I serve on DPW along with Trustee Grover, and I had asked for both Naomi and Will to come here tonight to give these presentations so that we can get an understanding at the board level on some of the challenges that we face that we may not be aware that's out there. Kind of some of the philosophy, the engineering behind it, technical ease, if you will, of what has to be done, what's being done currently, and challenges that lie ahead on this. Some of it is financial, especially with the condition of the roads. Other infrastructure is also deteriorating at the same time. It's going to require treatment. So we most likely will have more presentations like this so that we can understand not only the shape that it's in, but the costing behind it. A program like MS4 and how it reaches out to different structural events that the village has liability on, not necessarily the costing or control of it as it's sent back to the HOAs or other owners and users of those systems. But there's still a cost that's occurred there, especially if we don't have control on it and don't keep control to make sure that it's being inspected and repaired or cleaned as necessary. It opens us up for that liability, but there is a certain costing that will be incurred. It's not great, I don't think, to be able to get this program to where it needs to be for monitoring for years to come. But all of this rolls into infrastructure that our municipality has to maintain. And part of what we need to do from both a financial level or just a simple obligatory level is to understand, create these programs, and then adhere to them going into the future. So I'll go back to the infrastructure, the roads, for instance. We spent a lot of time taking a look at this and kind of getting a bigger picture of where we're at. And really, roads are part of the most basic infrastructure for the village. And if these roads are not in condition to where they can be adequately used in case of emergent actions or just simply day-to-day driving and approach and everything else, and just simple value that's added or lost to the businesses and to the residential locations in the process of this, it has a lot longer reaching financial and obligatory means than just to simply look and say, this road is in poor shape and we need to pave it. So we have to take into consideration longer term effects. The more that we wait to fix a road that's at a 3, it's going to drop to a 2 and rapidly down to a 1, and it's going to cost us more money. Now you can see that just immediately on these roads, it's at $4.5 million to fix 1, 2s, and 3s if we just simply wrote a check for it today. That number is increasing. As we sit here and discuss this, that number is increasing. And at the same time, our 5s and our 4s are decreasing down to 1s, 2s, and 3s, again, as we go through this. I cannot emphasize enough that we need to take a very strong look at the money that's coming in from the state, along with the decline that's coming with that because of basically our lack of spending money on these types of things to maintain them. However, we've put together the estimates in the 400,000 range whenever Eric's simple budget is 12,000 to fix the roads, except for special means like the culverts, which is not the only project that's like that right now in our system. We're starting to not get anywhere with it except just continue a downhill spiral of more money and lesser infrastructure that we have. So this is why I wanted Will and Naomi to present tonight so we can see different aspects of this. The BMP is a manageable system through the MS4, but we just simply need to implement it and make sure that we're getting in touch with the right people, partnering with them, and making sure that the entities are doing what they need to do. In the case of roads, we need to take consideration of putting more money to the side so that we can take care of this infrastructure. If we don't have roads, our law enforcement and our fire are not going to be able to perform their public safety duties whenever they have endangerment of just simply traversing the roads to get to the sites. We have to take a look at where we can manage our money the best. And everybody knows that we don't have this magic coffer sitting off into the side in a closet somewhere where we can just magically dip into it and pull from it. And we're still paying off debt for the next decade and plus. So there's going to be tough choices that have to be made. And this is why I want the engineers to come in and present this so that we know where we're at. Just so you got a little bit of history behind what I've been working with Eric on at DPW, and Trustee Grover's coming into it. He's drinking out of the fire hose on it a little bit, but he's starting to really see this stuff too. So that's where we're at. I just wanted to tell you where and the why of why we're here tonight listening to this.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So put together a plan as far as what we're gonna do at the MS4 and the inspection and things like that. Recommendation of where you wanna start, and what you're gonna do and when, and try to lay it out so that we know what you're gonna do. And then take and give us some kind of recommendation of what you think we could start with roads. And I know that we have the ones over just west of here that are in the worst shape. And they've been needing to get done for quite some time. And they're all kind of connected, so it seems like it'd be most beneficial to do them all at the same time, which is a huge cost.
Is it Bronk, Edgewood, and Wynn?
Yeah, Wynn, Bronk, yeah, Edgewood.
And they're not long or big roads, but once you add them all together, they're,
They haven't been touched since 84 or 85, so.
right.
We've got roads that haven't been touched since the 1970s.
The square yards add up.
Yeah.
The other thing,
So,
I don't mean to rain on your parade, but there's also an artesian over there that drains into the ditch line on Edgewood Court. I'm sure it's not helping the road, particularly if that storm sewer's leaking in any way, shape, or form.
right.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this or thoughts? Okay, we'll move on in approval of bills. I'll make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $126,827.24.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. So we have old business none at this time. We'll go to new business, consideration, discussion, approval, follow operating license applicants, renewal for 23-24. Unless noted, you want to go through this? Safety person?
Safety person. I only have one sheet here. Is that just Richie's, Jerome's, and Blue Heron?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
And you can do them all together.
Do them all together. We've got Richie's, Don Emmerich, Monica Heineman, and Scott Walker, Jerome's Corner Market, Sally Grill, and Blue Heron, Stephanie Romer.
Chief, any issues?
No issue.
Take a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the bar licenses as presented.
To a second.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Discussion, consideration, possible action to update the village map for GIS by FOB. And so we're just gonna take and table this. Discussion, consideration, possible action of contract with Washington County for tax assessment and billing. You probably have that in front of you there. This is a normal thing. I believe they've done this for us for quite some time. Can you read through it?
Just so that I understand, are we obliged to use Waukesha County, or would this be a bid type of project similar to anything else that we would have to do?
Is there an answer for that? I mean,
No, no, what's the project? I don't know.
Well, it's for property tax assessment and billing contract. Basically, they want us, they'll bill us for every parcel that gets a tax receipt for them to prepare and send it out. And I guess my question is, I don't know why we go through this every year if we're obliged to use them. And I'm not even sure if we are, and that's my question is, do we use them, or can we use an outside service that we can competitively bid and potentially save the money?
Say I don't know which one you're saying.
We don't, we don't, but I think their rate is pretty good, and it's something that we probably have to research a lot more, and they do a good job for us, I know that.
What were the previous rates?
You have any records on that as far as previous rates?
I do not. The rate on 12, is that what? Or how much this costs?
Yeah.
The current reassessment that's going on, would that fall within current year or from 2024?
Oh, it would be for 24, yeah, so. I've always been under the understanding that it's a pretty good rate.
Then wouldn't it make more sense to see if we could send it up for bid, like Tony said? To see if there's some.
We could check into it.
I mean, they're looking for a 3.5% increase between over 24 to 25. I don't know where it is from, or I'm sorry, from 24 to 25. I'm not exactly for sure where we're at 23 or in the history, but 3.5% increase. You know, I don't know. I'm just asking a question because I have to be concerned about where our tax money is going.
And that's something that we can just table this and we can have Kelly look into it and get us an answer.
And if we approve this today, would we be locked in for 24, 25?
It seems like we would have
That's
this.
right.
How many parcels do we have in the Big Bend?
I don't know the answer to that either.
I don't know offhand.
Would you like Kelly to research that?
Yeah, I'd like to actually find out
Yeah.
what the cost is for this.
I mean, we may be just looking at a difference of like $20 or something, but I don't know. I don't know how much overall that we have to pay every year. I'm not sure if 3.5% increase is going to affect anything or not, but
How much do we pay for 22 to 23? And,
It'd be worth knowing anyways.
Can you have Kelly do that?
we have until September 15th, so we've got a little bit of time.
Okay.
Is this for individuals, when they bill people for their taxes?
They bill that back to the municipality. It says the municipality will be invoiced twice a year in May and September.
for sending you the bill.
Pretty much.
So much you owe.
I'd like to see how much it's cost in the past.
I'll make a motion to table it. And,
I'll second that.
okay, I think made a motion. Okay, all in favor? Okay, National Night Out, consideration possible action on putting up a table for citizens to meet the board. This is something I asked to be put on there, and I'm looking for your input to see if you would like to participate in that. Have something set up there, a table. I talked to Ellen, and she has some kids'
Tattoos.
or something.
Water, tattoos for the kids at the Rumble. I think I'm gonna order some more. I think it's gonna be pretty popular, but we just have some water set out there with sponges, and they can put on their own, pick out some tattoos and put it on, and they're removable after a week or so. Kids love that kind of stuff. So we could do that. We'll have available.
I mean, we can, but it might give our people a chance to meet us, which I don't think has been done previously. They may have questions for us, they may have thoughts about what we can do differently or better or whatever it might be, and I'm sure welcome to hear them.
I'm already helping run raffles, so I can probably dip in and out between the table and church. Because Nancy asked me to help run all the raffles this year again.
I'll probably be working with the library, doing the same thing. I think we should do it.
Yeah. That could be a great idea.
I do too. It's, get our faces out there and, you know, like I say, they can ask questions. They can get the answer right from us instead of wherever it comes from.
It was nice meeting a lot of constituents in the area last year, when being my first year, helping out last year. It was very nice seeing everybody. I know Mike was there, Warren was there. So, very good turnout too.
It was.
I don't know if we really need any action on that, just an agreement to do it. Agreed. Okay.
Do we have a tent?
I have 3 in my basement, and I have 2 10 by 10s and a 10 by 20.
Okay, we should have some signage.
You got 2 pop-ups if you guys can use 2. We got 2 pop-ups that we can use, 2 plus my pop-ups and down in the garage, so there's 3 actually down there.
We'll figure it out. Some chairs. We have from DPW.
Yeah, we can just get some chairs from here. And I also have a pop-up, you wanna be in charge of making a sign to come meet your village board members or something?
Sure. I'll bring my Jacobson and we can cart some chairs down there on the table. Okay.
Any other ideas on what you'd like to have there?
Keep me away from arts and crafts. Scare people away. Keep me away from arts and crafts, that would scare people away.
Okay, so we'll do it.
Yep.
All right, thank you, everybody. Discussion, consideration, possible action on joint public hearing with planning commission, reference flood plan ordinance, and I think you have it here. So we need to set a date on this.
Jeff, I think we're looking at the next, planning meeting, right?
Probably, yeah.
Like 27th. What day is that one?
Or Thursday, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's the 27th, July 27th. We had preliminarily set it at planning for a 6 PM public hearing. Joint between the board and planning, and then that would go into the planning meeting after that. Planning would then, if everything looks correct and with the public comments, planning approves that, then we would turn around to the next board meeting and approve it at the board meeting, I believe, was the plan.
Is that acceptable? Everybody going, or we at least have a quorum to be there?
I'll be there.
I can be there, I can switch numbers.
I know Tony and I'll be there because we're on planning. There's at least 4 or
What time do we think it started?
6 o'clock.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, 6.
Okay. Next item is discussion to consideration possible action on sex offender ordinance. Do we have a copy of the ordinance here? Although we may want to give the board members time to review it. Maybe you'd like the, 1 or 2 from public safety.
Tracy should take the lead on that because it's going to be.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tracy, on your research to things here.
Yeah, it was a lot of information. Gathered most of our information from villages, cities throughout the state of Wisconsin, and implemented per Attorney Schober's recommendations with Brookfield's ordinance that was just updated in May of this year. Incorporated a lot of the information from them. Also put in a few extra things that we haven't had in the past. Whereas we put in holiday events and public gatherings, due to the fact that I used to work for the Halfway House and Day Treatment Center in La Crosse for adult correctional services. In the past, we had sexual offenders that would dress up as something for one of the parades like Oktoberfest and go distribute candy when they're not supposed to. Luckily, they got caught right away within minutes. So they're not trying to coerce them to come to them, like being Santa at Christmas, dressing up as somebody else for trick-or-treating, Easter bunny at Easter, and loitering was another something that was brought up, Sparta, Wisconsin's that they had. I put that in as the implementation as well, which was 10.20.070. It also talks about where you can vote and what you need to do if you're voting in the area, if you're allowed to. And that we also need to get a new map made up for the village because it went from 2,000 feet down to 1,500 feet, which is Wisconsin state statutes. Because we didn't want to have anything in there that could possibly get us into a lawsuit. Because we want to be as on the book as best as possible.
And that's something be reviewed every year by
Correct.
planning.
Annually or as
updated
needed.
As needed, if there's a new daycare center or.
But we do need to have an updated map because it's from 2007.
Is
So
it
that's-
true that statewide, they've actually reduced the restrictions as far as residency requirements?
There is to a point, but they also need to be residents in the village that they were actually offending in, correct, Attorney? They're the only ones that can technically live in the village.
So.
So if
someone
they
who wasn't a
resided here when they
resident
were.
Can't be a new resident.
Correct.
I could speak to a little bit. This started with trustee Manzel, when he was chair of the safety committee. And we gathered as much information as we could because we weren't going to reinvent the wheel. And we looked at different ordinances and I think we agreed ultimately that Brookfield had a good ordinance. Spent a lot of time and effort in it. And while we say that we've done what we can to protect ourselves from lawsuit, I don't know that we totally insulated ourselves because this is very dynamic. And there's the needs at the state level to find places for these people, but nobody really wants them in their backyard. So it's going to be this continuing friction. But I think when we review this, and I think that Tracy's going to do a good job of it, and prove it as it is. I'm not suggesting, no, you don't take it home. I don't think there's any urgency to do this right now. So if you want an opportunity to independently review it, you can, or you can accept representation.
I'd like to
move forward now.
I'd like to look at it when I want to, because my prior neighbor was a sexual predator, was convicted, went to prison. He lived within 1,500 yards of 3 schools and right across the street from a park. And he was allowed to come back home. You know, and I had issues, and I had concerns about that. You know, you're right in the middle of 3 different schools, right across the street from a park, and he was still, the state allowed him to come back home. And I didn't quite understand it.
Because it was his residence when he offended, correct?
Yeah.
And we can only go so far within the constraints of the state statutes.
So what do we have now?
It's very minimal.
Just very normal. So if we adopt this, if there is anyone that is currently residing in the village that this would affect, are they grandfathered, or will this potentially displace them?
Go ahead, Tracy.
That would be up to the attorney. I have,
This is the grandfather, I know there's another one on, Marianne Drive.
No, I think he died.
The one I'm talking was a younger person.
Okay.
He was a classmate of my son.
unless he got a conditional exemption.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because a lot of times if we put
He lived
laws in
2 doors
place.
down from St. Joe's, it's like,
Yeah. A lot of, not to get into any specifics about any particular person or case, it's just, a lot of times if we put laws into the books or we revamp those laws, especially on the planning side, a lot of the things that we've went through here in the last couple, 3 years, there's exemptions or grandfather clauses that, you know, I'm just curious if there is anyone that this would affect, especially if what we have on the books right now is minimal and we're putting this into place, if they would get displaced, what would be the outcome of that?
I would suggest that kind of question that we table it. I'll have an opportunity to review it and then answer any questions to me. I think that would be fair.
I'm very much for this, I just want to make sure that we have everything covered in the language in those types of cases, I guess, so that we have it all defined.
is it like, you know, limiting to what we have and then not allowing, like, people come from outside of the area to move into the.
Well, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with it. I don't, to me, I think this is something that we absolutely need, and 100% full support. I just want to make sure that we have any additional language that we need into it to sort through those types of issues. If there might be any to be had.
And even to like, not so much as displacing somebody, but some of the extra provisions that have been put in by the committee about the costumes and loitering, that would they then have to follow those new rules even though they were here under the old ordinance?
I mean, I would say yes to both of you, but I still think that answer's in a vacuum. And I don't know that it's really adequate for your common understanding as to what you're voting on here. There is no rush. Chief's here, and it just come up only once in the last several years that I'm aware of. Maybe it's more often than that. But
Since
another
I come on, this is
couple
the
of
only
weeks,
time.
why don't we all read it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We have an opportunity to fully study it, and then talk about it at the next meeting.
How do you,
I would prefer to.
yeah, see you guys.
So, I mean, I would suggest we take it home, read it, and take it up the next meeting.
Yeah, I think we should. As far as the map, I think I'd like to get that map also.
I talked to the Fourth, and it was like $140 an hour for their mapping people to do this. So if we have the new updated map, I don't know if this is it, but they would be identifying the 1,500 feet away from all of the, well, we really only got one licensed daycare that's registered with the state. Is this home? Or does this apply to the home daycare?
Yes, correct, yes.
So the churches, the schools, the libraries, the parks, so they would have to identify that. And it's gonna cost a little bit of money, but we have to do it.
Well, yeah, what's a little bit of money? I mean, how long, and from what I understand, they would have it set up in a computer form so that, you know, instead of just, you know, what we have here. And it,
Well, what we had from 2007 was a white or a yellow cloud around the village where they probably shouldn't be residing. He guesstimated at $500.
which isn't bad.
So it's just upfront. It's not gonna cost that every time we have to make a change.
So
So exactly what was it for a map of
The village
for existing
locations
sexual predators in the perimeter around?
where the churches, the schools, the library, the parks, playgrounds, baseball diamonds, daycare centers. And then those locations would be identified with 1,500 feet around their perimeter. That's where they would not be able to reside.
Unless they were within
They
the.
previously lived there, correct. We've had two
Makes sense.
Inquiries.
inquiries. So that's kind of why it's gotta be updated.
and then table the rest.
Two inquiries regarding new residents?
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear.
So I just talked to Mike here, so I will make a motion to have us approve up to $500 for this mapping to be created, and then table the rest of the ordinance until a later date. Could I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And Ellen, you'll contact Ben?
We'll do that.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move into our next part, which is closed session. You're hereby notified that the Village of Big Bend, the Village Board of Big Bend, of the Village of Big Bend will convene in May upon motion duly made and seconded and acted upon by roll call vote as required to go into closed session during the course of this meeting. Village board members may attend the closed session. The purpose of the closed session will be as follows. Under Wisconsin Stat 19.851G for conferring with legal counsel for governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategically to be adopted by the body with respect to the litigation in which it is which it is, or is likely to become volatile, specifically to discuss Wisconsin 19.851E, delivering and negotiating the purchase of public property, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons are required as required in a closed session, specifically to discuss Village of Big Bend, Village of Waukesha joint municipal court, updating and recreating Chapter 1, Section 2.2. So, I need a motion to go into closed session.
Motion going to closed session.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote. Tony?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Mike? Aye. Tracy?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
And myself is an aye. So we are in closed session. So I would ask everybody, but I would like Bob to stay for the first part of this.
Bob, you want to?
I'm sorry, Tom.
Sure.
Got you two mixed up, thank you. So, we'd like to have you introduce yourself, talk a little bit,
Sure.
and then we'll ask you to excuse yourself, and we'll, let's take just a small break while we do this, so people can use the restroom if they want to. And, okay? Oh, we in there.
Am I getting a?
Yeah, I'll, give me just 1 second here.
Anybody need a water or anything?
Do you have any of those?
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Wow.